What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we have How to Make Your Magic Better episode 16, which is going to be all about saving your tricks that have gone wrong. Now this is something that is sort of a developed skill, something that as you get more experience, more comfortable performing, and just bigger knowledge base and more tools in the toolbox, that will just come more naturally. But there are some ways to get there quicker. There are some things you can do right now that will help you get out of nearly all situations and will really help enhance your magic and never having to leave you with that awful feeling of messing up a trick and just having to bite the bullet, which is something we never want to have to deal with. So this is going to be a great video. I hope you guys are as excited as I am, and let's not waste too much more time. If you would like to check out private lessons, you can at the link below. If you like these type of videos, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's jump right into the video. So what do I mean by saving your tricks gone wrong? That seems pretty obvious, but essentially I'm just talking about when you or your spectator make a mistake, right? Whether that's you messing up a control, forgetting the key card, forgetting the identity of their card, whether they forget the identity of their card, they don't shuffle properly, they don't follow your process that when you told them just cut the deck, they actually shuffle it. Whatever the case is, your trick has gone wrong and we need to save it. Sometimes something doesn't work, right? There's a gimmick, there's a process, there's a procedure, there's a statistical probability of something happening and it doesn't work, it goes wrong. Which again, isn't your fault, isn't the spectator's fault always, but it needs saving. And our ultimate goal is to save it without making it seem like there was a mistake. We want to not let there be any feeling or any sense that anything went any differently than it was supposed to. Why is it important? Well, straight up, it's embarrassing and it's no fun messing up, right? Magic was one of those art forms where there's so much stake put into what we're doing, right? We build up the moment and da-da-da all the way to the reveal, and then for it to fall flat is just like so awful. It's an awful feeling, right? Especially if you're trying to make a good impression or it's the first time someone's seeing you do magic, so you don't have much of a leeway with them. But regardless, it's just never a fun situation to be in. Also, another reason that it's important is we want to keep our magic good, right? I'm sure that's something we all strive to do, we all want to do, is just give the best magic we can, and avoiding mistakes is definitely one way of doing that. Some of us have a reputation to uphold, right? Whether we're a professional trying to maintain our professional reputation or we're just a hobbyist showing our friends and we want to maintain that reputation. That's also important. And finally, it's fun. Jazzing, saving yourself, getting into tough situations, and then getting out is not only extremely rewarding once you do it, but it's fun while you're in it. If you can look at it through the lens of fun and not the lens of stress, which some people do, but you need to try to change that perspective and think of it as a challenge rather than something you should be afraid of. So now, how to do it? So the first way is to jazz. And jazzing is the idea of freestyling, right? So how do you get good at freestyling, right? You need to, one, have a very good knowledge, a good knowledge base, so that when you have a problem and a solution, you can pick the perfect bridge to get to the solution, right, from the problem. And if you have a wide knowledge base, you have a ton of different possible solutions, I guess, to arrive at your solved scenario where it's all is good. You have plenty of different solutions to think of and to think from, and also things will come to you a lot quicker because you're well versed. Then you want to be well versed not only in the theory but at the sleights as well, and you don't have to be a master at every sleight ever. You should at least be able to do like a good portion of the sleights that you know, like at least at a level where if you need to do them once in a while, you could probably, sufficiently do it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough that, you could kind of get away with it or you could do it. And one way, yes, is to practice a bunch of different sleights, and a lot of sleights have similar to other sleights, so then you have a new sleight you want to learn and it's a lot easier because you've already done this sleight that's similar to it, and it just kind of compounds and becomes very easy to learn new sleights. Then from there, it's just about not panicking in the situation and selecting the right path, and then logically thinking through of how to get from step A to step B where we want to get to, right? You always need to remember, and this is said so much, but it is important, so I'll say it once, they don't know where the trick is going, right? They have no idea how it's supposed to end, so you can end it however you see fit. Just try to make a little bit of magic happen, right? Whatever that may be. You can easily take pretty much any effect, segue it back to double lift, put it down, and it changes into their card, right? You can save all tricks, and that's still a cool effect. They'll get a good reaction. Even if you did all this weird process beforehand, they don't know that that's not how it's supposed to end. So a good idea is to have a universal out. That's always a great thing to have in your back pocket. A universal out is something that will pretty much work in any situation. So what are a couple universal outs? Well, one is an invisible deck. A lot of people love the invisible deck because if someone forgets a card, they can have them name a new one. If the magician loses the card or forgets what the card is, you can say, watch, name, what's the card you chose? They'll say, oh, do I have to tell you? You'd be like, yeah, watch, I'll do something amazing. They tell you, and then you do the invisible deck. You drop your cards all over the floor, invisible deck. You have a heckler steal your cards, invisible deck, right? It can solve pretty much any situation. Another great option is card to pocket, because if you forget the card, whatever the case is, you lose control of it, so you have no idea what it is. You say, name the card, you go through the deck looking for it, right? And this is where you could use something like my auto index, which stands for the out and the open index, which allows you to use your deck in play as an index, so you can actually make any card named vanish completely from the deck instantly. So like as you're going through the deck, they name the card and you go through the whole deck and it's not there, and you didn't have to do any setup. You just hide, there's a technique obviously, but you hide the card as you're spreading through and they never see it. So you can spread through the whole deck and hide any named card. So now I would use the auto index. I'd say, so like I forget their card, so I'd say, what card is it? They say Jack of Hearts. Now we're going through, we say, let's look for the Jack of Hearts. And we go through the deck, it's not there because I've used the auto index to not only hide it and make it vanish, but also gain control of it. So now I've controlled it. Now I palm it and say, you know why it's not there? Because that's the only card I had in my pocket. So card to pocket is also a great out that can get you out of many scenarios, because you lose the card, they forget it. It's just because it was in your pocket the whole time. So those are a couple of universal outs that always work. Like I said, even the sort of double lift change is good to fall back on if you can like reestablish control. Using my auto index, I'll link the video to it, but it's very powerful because you can make any card instantly vanish from the deck in play without having to do anything funny. You just literally go through the deck with the spectator looking at it as well, and that card gets vanished from the deck and in your control, so then you can do anything you want with it. The next thing is to make things up, lie, right? That's what we do all the time. So if something goes wrong, like you're doing a triumph and you put the cards in their hand and all the cards should be fixed, but you made a mistake, let's say, so then when they start going through, there's cards that are not fixed yet. We'll just say something like, the magic didn't have enough time, it hasn't happened yet. I've used that before. I say, hold on, and then I'll spread through, call the cards that I missed, fix it, and I'll say, you probably just weren't holding it long enough. Sometimes it takes a little bit extra time, right? The magic hasn't happened yet, whatever the case is. You could say all kinds of different excuses to get yourself out of those situations. The biggest point I want to iterate in this video is that any trick can be saved. Honestly, any trick, no matter how wrong you think it's went, can be saved. Just takes some creativity, a good knowledge base, and some, thinking on your feet. Ultimately, you want to be creative so that you can get out of any situation, right? You want to be able to kind of think things through, make sure that whatever you propose as your solution to your audience, right? So you'll say something that will kind of tell them which way the trick's going, so that's kind of your proposed solution. But when you actually execute it, maybe there's something that's not congruent or it doesn't make sense, and now you've just screwed up even more. So you want to be able to think on your feet enough to make sure that the premise is going to hold true, whatever you propose as your new solution. And then being creative can allow you to come up with different alternatives to find the best one quickly on the spot. Like I mentioned, having an expansive repertoire is also super helpful. Not only a knowledge repertoire, but abilities repertoire as well, right? Something technically that you can actually accomplish. And I said they don't have to be all perfect, but at least at like a decent usable level, so you can actually use them when you need to. Another thing is to think about where a trick might go wrong. When you're scripting a trick, when you're practicing a trick, think about the moments it could go wrong. How could it go wrong at the selection process? How could it go wrong when the spectator's shuffling? Could they not follow my instructions? Then when you think of all these problems that could happen, then you can think of solutions for all these. Every effect, I already know the most likely places that things are going to go wrong, and I already have solutions thought out what I would do if this happens, so that I don't have to freestyle, I don't have to get stressed on the spot. And I've thought about each case, so I have solutions. Now, of course, there are going to be things that you just can't think about, that you're only going to learn from in the real world, and people are going to do some crazy things that you're like, I never thought that would have happened. That's when you employ your freestyling techniques, you save it, and then you go back to the drawing board and you think, okay, if that situation happened again, now that I know it's a possibility, How would I solve it? Would I do what I did? Was the way I handled it the best way to do it? Was that a good way? Maybe that's the way I'll always handle it, right? And then kind of in that same vein, and in the vein of universal outs, like I mentioned, if you plan your universal outs, you have them ready beforehand and don't just try to wing them, like you actually practice with a routine going wrong and then segueing into invisible deck, you'll be all set. And another thing that's important is high risk tricks should be planned for. So propless stuff that has a lower hit rate or a good chance of like something going wrong, I always have a plan of how I'm going to handle it because I expect them to go wrong at a frequent enough basis, right? So more risky tricks, or maybe there's a really hard move that you might mess up, that should be planned for. So some examples, one example is guess who, right? It's a name divination, completely propless, where I guess a name someone's thinking of. Now, there's kind of a bit of a force involved, and if that force doesn't hit, then the effect isn't going to work. So there is definitely a potential for this to go wrong. So I have created a system. So when I get in this situation where I've written down my guess on a billet and I say for the first time, what's the name you're thinking of? And they say it and it doesn't match the name I have on the billet, I can get out of that and force someone to think of the name on the billet and then use a one ahead to get the name that they have. So I can literally save it no matter what name they're thinking of. And this is a great out, super easy. It's with me all the time. If you'd like to learn about it, you can hit me up for a private lesson, link in the description. But it's a really great technique and it's just amazing for saving all kinds of mentalism scenarios. Another, which I can show you a quick clip of, is a particular situation that comes to mind is I was doing this spelling routine on Zoom for a friend where they kind of think of a card and then I spell to it. And something went wrong, they didn't get the right card. So all I did was spread the deck out on the table and I just asked, I was like, hey, do you see your card here? I didn't fully have a plan at that point, but this is the nature of jazzing, right? As you're gonna see, I got quite lucky, but again, I wouldn't have got lucky if I didn't try, if I didn't jazz. So I spread the whole deck out and I say, hey, do you see your card here? And they take a good look and they say, no, I don't see it. I saw it was sitting right there, but they didn't see it. That's fine. Now I know where it is. I pick up the deck and shift the card to the bottom, do a quick palm and say, well, that's because it was in my pocket this whole time. And they're like, how does a card I name in your pocket? And it was even more believable because they actually looked through the deck and didn't see it. Because it was virtual, I couldn't really use the auto index. Well, I probably could have, but I didn't in that situation. So take a look at how that played out.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I got all these cards, all different, right, Ash? You can see, all different, no order. I just want you to think of any card that you see, okay? Just think of one. Did you get one?
Yeah.
Now, you saw me mix those cards. You have a card in mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to deal through the cards, and for every card I put down, I just want you to spell a letter of your card. So, for example, if you went with the 10 of clubs, it would be TENOFCLUBS. Okay? So make sure you spell the of, okay?
Okay.
All right, so just spell it.
And do I have to do it out loud as well?
No, just do it in your mind, okay? And tell me when you spelt, when we're on the S, okay? When we spelt it all right?
Okay. Okay, that's the last card.
So this was the S.
Yes.
Now, Ash, you have one card in your mind. You could be thinking of any card. These are shuffled. For the first time, what is the card you were just thinking of?
8 of hearts.
8 of hearts? No luck. But it's okay because these things are often tricky. So I want to show you the real purpose of this. That was a sort of pseudo experiment. Do you see the 8 of hearts in here? Can you see?
Nope.
You see, Ash, the interesting thing is if we go through here, I'll show you every card. I asked you to see a card, and here's the 8 of clubs, there's the 8 of diamonds. But as I look through, I don't see the 8 of hearts. Are you sure you saw the 8 of hearts?
I thought I saw it. What the heck?
You sure?
Maybe I'm incorrect with it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because the interesting thing is, Ash, in my pocket here, I had one card before we started.
No way.
And that was the 8 of hearts, and you fell for the ploy.
Okay, that's sick.
That's just an example of a jazzing scenario and how I completely did not have that planned as an out, and it just popped into my head, and it turned out, as you can see, an amazing effect. He thought it was awesome. So finally, how to improve. Ultimately, like I've been talking about, expanding your knowledge and repertoire is very important in all different aspects of magic to get better at jazzing. The next thing is to plan, right? Have a concrete plan. Plan your outs, plan your universal outs, plan where and what you would do if things go wrong. Perform. The more you perform, the more you'll have opportunities to see things go wrong. Practice and try. Even if it's just on a friend or family member, try. And if you really want to take it to the next level, put yourself in situations. Literally go up to someone, have them pick a card, return it to the deck, have them shuffle it in the fairest way where you absolutely don't know what their card is, and have no plan about how you're going to get out of it, and then try right on that spot. It's a great way to practice your jazzing. Ultimately, those are my major tips when it comes to this and how to save your magic. Plan universal outs and outs within tricks. Expand your repertoire, both knowledge and technical. And then practice through performance and putting yourself in situations where you actually have to freestyle and think on the spot. So guys, that is it for this video. I hope you loved it. This was an awesome video. I think one that'll be super beneficial for a lot of you. I often get this question, what do you do when something goes wrong? And you've seen through a lot of my performances, and specifically my performance breakdown videos, which you can check out. And I actually go into detail in a lot of stuff where things went wrong, because things go wrong all the time. Things don't go to plan all the time. So you can actually see in these videos where I explain exactly what went wrong and how I handled it, and I think you can learn a lot from those. So if you like these videos, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I really appreciate you taking some time and spending it with me over here. I want to welcome all the new subscribers, and if anyone would like to check out private lessons, I offer those at the link below, where I go over anything card magic, mentalism related for all skill levels. Whatever it is you want to work on, you can learn some of my best effects, including the ACANs that I perform, my best prop list material, all that stuff that I have not taught anywhere else. If you would like to, you can check those out at my private lessons and get a lesson. But with all that said, guys, I want to thank you again for spending some time with me, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.